I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and it seemed like since we're going into quantum earnings here in August, quantum has had one heck of a year. There has been headline after headline after headline, and we have seen historical breakthroughs in quantum technology. We've seen the convergence of many different companies and ideas, and we're seeing AI rapidly progress and quantum computers rapidly progress. I started this channel in 2025 on a whim because I invest in quantum stocks, and I want to kind of just talk about just 2025 because of course quantum computers have been researched long before when I started covering them. What I think is pretty cool is that since I started so recently, that I have this fresh perspective and this optimism, which I think a lot of investors have, because that's reflected in the stock price, that's reflected in how people talk about quantum and in the excitement about it. So 2025 has been really an amazing year because built the Quantum Bull, the quantumbull.com, built this YouTube channel, and I get to talk about a very niche part of technology, which is quantum computers. And I happen to be of the opinion that it won't be so niche in the near future. And I think that things are going to change in some big ways. So I reached out to the IQT, so what is IQT? So they have this Quantum Plus AI conference coming up in New York from October 19th to 21st. And they have speakers like all kinds of backgrounds. They've got people from QEra, Mayo Clinic, they've got Quantinuum there, they've got Doug Finke, they've got IBM, Cantor Fitzgerald's there, Quantum AI, Dr. Kulkarni for Getty is going to be there. The Chief Commercial Officer for Arkit, or Andy Lever is CEO, is going to be there. And I believe Carlos for Seal SQ is going to be there. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, I'd love to go and just kind of cover this event kind of as press. And I got an email back today and they said, hey, Majid, we'd love to have the Quantum Bull there and we can get you into the conference. So I already have a trip planned somewhere else and I'm kind of going back and forth about whether I should go or not. So I think part of me knows that I just need to be there because I just want to meet some of these people. I want to like introduce myself. And I think as this channel has been growing and as retail interest has been growing in quantum, I think it just makes sense for me to go and cover the conference. I haven't decided yet, so let me know what you guys think. But I'm just like reflecting back on 2025 and I'm over on my website and I'm looking back when I started. So literally this just goes back to 2025. So, you know, the rest of the news that I've covered, it's been such an interesting storyline that has unfolded in 2025. So we had the quantum computing stocks sink because Jensen Huang basically said the tech was 15, 20, 30 years away. And then the next day, Alan Baratz of D-Wave came out and said that Jensen was dead wrong. And then we had the CES panel with Microsoft, IBM, and IonQ, and Will Rich, one of my friends, and a YouTube channel that I followed. He jumped on a plane and went to the CES panel, and he got some answers when no one else was able to find any of these answers. And so I created this channel to start covering quantum stocks. Then we heard in January, Mark Zuckerberg say, doubting quantum computers, and the stock plunged again. Then we had the fireside chat with Rigetti CEO, and he was saying kind of investors should temper their expectations and that type of thing. But then there were a lot of other things going on. And I really wanted to understand, okay, you know, at the end of the day, we're all human. Is it possible that Jensen and Zuckerberg, some of the most wealthy, powerful, technological figureheads in the world, is it possible that maybe they're underestimating the progress of this technology and the potential? And what's been really interesting to see unfold in 2025 is we've seen Jensen actually completely do a 180. And the reason this is so important that the man himself, Jensen Huang, changed his opinion on quantum is because Nvidia is the most valuable company in the world. It's over $4 trillion. It's a technological powerhouse. And we have basically the CEO of the biggest company in the world now saying, hey, we have a Boston research lab. We're going to potentially invest in SciQuantum. And saying in keynotes in recent earnings calls that quantum is part of the supercomputing stack of the future. So this is a massive, massive, massive about face, right? That we started the year in this kind of trough of a lot of the biggest tech leaders in the world just saying quantum is irrelevant or won't be relevant for 20 years and investors getting scared and the crash. And then we also had in 2025, we had the tariffs, which absolutely also sent down high beta stocks, speculative stocks, future looking stocks that don't yet have the revenues, the proof that they're going to be a viable business model. And through all of it, to me, as I kind of navigate this sort of year, I just want to keep like looking through all that and looking at the actual news. So MIT set a world record with a 99.9% fidelity in quantum breakthrough in January, right? Nvidia, shortly after taking kind of some shots at quantum, announced their first ever quantum day. And then what we saw was something really interesting as well, is we saw sort of these quantum pure plays, these companies like D-Wave say, hey, we have now proven in an actual problem that matters, quantum supremacy. We've demonstrated it. And we've seen headlines like useful quantum computing is inevitable from MIT. We've seen Forbes recognize IonQ. We've seen Xanadu introduce a world scalable quantum computer. So we have like the private sector, companies like SciQuantum, Quantinuum, and other private companies like Xanadu, Alice and Bob, dozens and probably dozens of other private companies that are making their push. And then we have some publicly traded pure plays, and their stocks and their company value has been trickling up. It's been going up. And in some cases, considerably. Bill Gates in February say there's a possibility quantum computing will become useful in 3 to 5 years. So we started to see a disconnect or disagreement early in 2025 between the tech leaders or tech visionaries of the world. We saw Jensen have one opinion and Zuckerberg have a similar opinion. And then we saw Bill Gates say, no, actually, I think this is coming sooner. D-Wave and IonQ really changed their marketing approach at this point. They said before, their websites didn't really talk about their quantum product being now. And then suddenly we saw this tone shift that suddenly quantum is now. Quantum is here now. So they were fighting essentially what Alan said on stage. So I had the pleasure of going to Qubits 2025 earlier this year, which is D-Wave's annual conference. And I heard Alan on stage saying, yeah, we have people spewing misinformation about quantum. And he says the word spewing misinformation. And it makes you kind of, root for the little guy, even if, maybe this thing is years and years away. It's intriguing to see kind of the companies standing up for themselves and fighting for themselves. So we've seen DARPA get involved. We've seen new legislation like the US government has said again and again in multiple forums and different iterations, we need to be quantum ready. because there will be a day when quantum computers can hack RSA encryption. We've seen partnerships, unbelievable partnerships. Most recently with a quantum company called IonQ, they've had partnerships with Oxford Ionics. Oxford Ionics is a heavyweight. I would liken it to like Apple joining forces with Netflix or something, just on a much larger scale with a much higher dollar amount. That's kind of like in the quantum computer world. And then IonQ's recent acquisition of Capella Space, of LightSync, all of these acquisitions are starting to add up to make IonQ look like a company that is to be reckoned with in the quantum space. And that's how the CEO talks. And it's very interesting to see these companies and how they talk about themselves and how they talk about the public and in interviews. So then in 2025, we saw the other Mag 7 players enter this conversation in a big way. So Microsoft unveiled their Majorana 1 quantum chip. And that was very exciting. This was in mid-February. And so then very early in 2025, by about the spring of 2025, we had the majority of the Mag 7, the Magnificent Seven, the most powerful tech companies in the world, and some of the most valuable companies in the world. 4 of them had a foot in the door as far as quantum: Google Willow, Amazon Ocelot, Microsoft Majorana, and recently Nvidia's talks to invest in SciQuantum, and also their own research in their Boston laboratory. So we've seen this pace in 2025 definitely pick up. If you look at the most valuable companies in the world, and even if you look at the quantum pure plays, the smaller companies that are specifically focused. So you've seen that whole storyline starting to play out. We saw in April, so early spring, DARPA and the US Chamber of Commerce pushed to accelerate quantum computing. We know there's a quantum benchmarking initiative and other legislation that is still needing to be passed to fund quantum research. And there are multiple articles and multiple initiatives from senators, private businesses, private consulting firms that are saying, hey, we need to do more on this whole quantum thing. And what we're seeing now, and we also saw in June of 2025, so very recently, the G7, the global G7 summit, the G7 agreed on quantum technologies. So when you put this all together, what it paints a picture of, and this is just my website, and I'm just one guy. There is so much more to this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And each of these companies, whether it's a private company, a public company that you or I can invest in, or whether it's the biggest companies in the world, we have this sort of movement towards what is possible with a quantum computer. And really what's so fascinating about all of this to me, by using the qubit and by doing computation through the qubit, we are able to start to do calculations that we never thought were possible before. So instead of our binaries, and we have, like, with our current computers, like, they're incredible. We've perfected the semiconductor and the CPU and the GPU for dozens of years, And now we're getting to the point where the QPU is coming into the conversation. The QPU offers something unique. It offers something different. It offers a way for us to compute and work on very hard problems, or problems that would be impossible for a classic computer to do. At the end of the day, no matter how late and great your GPU and CPU are, it is a linear, top to bottom way of processing information. Sure, there's ways to do parallel processing, multi-threading. There's different ways for computers to process information. But what a quantum computer will do, and and how it will be supreme to our traditional computing is it will be able to process things parallel. It'll be able to do computations that weren't possible before. And that's what excites me so much. So as I reflect on all this, I want to close this video by just talking about what I'm excited about and what a quantum computer may be able to do even in the next 3 to 5 years. If some of these companies like Quantinuum are able to deliver on their accelerated roadmaps, if IonQ is able to accelerate on their roadmaps, we could be looking at a very different computer stack even in the next 3 to 5 years. We could be doing drug discovery and molecular simulation that wouldn't be possible with a classical computer. We could figure out on a fundamental level how to make better batteries. And batteries are a limiting factor. Most of our devices that we use rely on batteries. And if we're able to make better batteries, if quantum is able to do that for us, that is incredible. The elephant in the room with all of this is artificial intelligence. And I believe artificial intelligence is going to become more and more critical for training quantum computers and quantum algorithms. And quantum computers are going to be deployed to make artificial intelligence even better. So we have a couple things converging. We have AI and quantum starting to become out of their infancy, and the marriage of those two is going to be profound. It's going to be like nothing we have ever seen or experienced, and it's a technological Everest. It's the peak of the highest mountain. It might be the most important invention ever in mankind, and this is the light bulb. This is electricity. If we can have this much computational power, it could solve problems that we couldn't even imagine. And that's of course the dream with all of this. Think about a company like Amazon or Walmart or UPS. Think about what optimizations and logistics, or even the US military or any military in the world, how they could be more efficient with potentially quantum computers, something like a quantum annealing machine, perhaps. Finances and financial portfolios. So often on this channel, I talk about the stock market. How is quantum going to improve asset allocation, derivative pricing, simulations, that type of thing? We're also, and something worth mentioning, is that we're not the only country, we're not the only continent in the world working on quantum computers. In fact, China is working on quantum computers. Many places in Europe are working on quantum computers. All around the world, there's this race, there's this push into what can we do with this technology when we crack the code. And coming with that is, could this technology get in the wrong hands, and could it compromise RSA encryption and the backbone of cybersecurity and everything we rely on? So that is where quantum key distribution and quantum cybersecurity come in. And there are already quantum security companies that are listed in our market. And could those companies become much more valuable in the next 3 to 5 years? Climate and climate modeling and carbon capture. Could we simulate climate and better predict extreme weather events to preserve life and to reduce catastrophic loss? We talk about quantum computing a lot, but there's also quantum sensing. There's the quantum internet. There's different ways in which the technology can be deployed to make our communication safer, to make our sensing more accurate, and to allow us to predict things that we weren't able to before. And of course, defense and government, right? We need to be able to secure our data, our secrets, our military plans, and eventually the best computer that you're using today will seem like an obsolete device. That's how computers have worked for the last 10, 15, 20 years. Except now, as we move forward into this next phase where quantum computers are part of the supercomputer stack, we're going to be able to do things and see things that maybe we didn't think were possible. So anyway, I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and I thought quantum stocks are going into earnings, in August, and they've already done so well if you really think about it. And where are these companies going to be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? That's what excites me. Where are we going to be with the technology? Where are we going to be with the science? I am just so excited to see this unfold, and I hope to be able to deliver this story to you all in the best way that I know how. So as always, thank you so much. I know the channel has passed over 7,000 subscribers. I started the channel this year. I was never a YouTuber before. I never really knew how to do any of this stuff. And this has really been a growth experience for me. And I've been enjoying this a lot. So 2025 has been a wild year, and I'm looking forward to next month. I'm looking forward to the end of 2025 and beyond. So I hope you guys stay here with me and we can watch this story unfold together, because we're watching technological history. We're watching history unfold. Thank you for making it this far. If you'd like to support the channel, if you'd like to support creator content in this space, in the quantum space, I do offer channel memberships. I'll put the link in the description of the video if you'd like to join. I also do have a Discord that we do talk about different types of stocks and that type of thing. But I'm very excited, and that's all I got for you. We'll see you in the next one.